So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where the Ottoman Empire comes back into the modern day. Now this is the Ottoman Empire at its peak in roughly 1566. Now that is kind of debatable. Maybe the Ottomans were bigger at some other point, but this is what I found online. So these are the borders we'll be using, and I think it checks out. This looks about right. Anyway, they are now back in 2025 and they will be experiencing the world, and they'll probably be going and invading a lot of countries, and they might even get a few coalitions formed against them. But if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated as we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into this video. Alright, so this is the borders of the Ottoman Empire upon their return. I tried my best to copy them. They're not perfect, but they'll definitely get the job done. Anyway, with the Ottomans' reappearance, we have to ignore a few things like that. Yeah, NATO would jump the Ottomans right away because obviously they took over a lot of NATO countries. We'll also have to probably ignore Russia because they lost some land and they definitely want it back. We'd have to ignore a lot of things, so we're going to be ignoring all of them. Basically, the world will just have to accept the fact that the Ottoman Empire is back and they have conquered all these lands under their empire. Nobody knows how they got here. No one knows how all of a sudden this thing just formed up, but oh well. Fortunately for the world though, this thing is hungry and they're going to go out and try to make their empire even larger to create the Great Ottoman Empire. Their first endeavors lie within the Mediterranean Sea. There are two countries here which are cooked. Cyprus and Greece both still exist, but not for long. Now Cyprus in a way received protection from both Greece and Turkey with the whole northern Cyprus thing, and Greece, they're cooked on the other hand. But without Turkey here to protect Cyprus and without Greece really being strong enough, yeah, both of these countries are cooked and they both fall and are annexed into the Ottoman Empire. From here, a few little quick things will happen, such as over in Tunisia, they will finish this thing off, not even going to do the war thing because they're cooked. Divided into 3 pieces, yeah, no chance. And then they will shift their focus over to the rest of the Balkans, specifically Croatia and Slovenia, as they wish to go ahead and expand their Adriatic coasts. And do so they will, as they declare war on both of these countries at the same time. And they push upwards into this land and see little to no resistance. Well, they see resistance, it's just futile. The Ottomans are steamroll these guys, and they are wiped off the map. And in this peace treaty, we see that both of these countries are fully annexed as to give, like I said earlier, more coastal land to the Ottoman Empire, as they wish to probably push even further up into Europe. Or not. Looks like they're going after Yemen. Now Yemen, Yemen. Where do we even start with Yemen? I don't know. I don't know what to say about Yemen. Tunisia was cooked. Yemen's even more cooked, and they go down pretty quickly. And in this peace treaty here, we see that Yemen is almost fully annexed. However, the rest of it is kind of saved and made into a puppet state. This will most likely serve as a buffer state should any wars break out between the Ottomans and Saudi Arabia. However, at the same time, they do kind of just straight up border each other. So maybe there's some other things going on with this puppet state down here. But now the Ottomans will go back over to Europe and continue their push up north, now going after the rest of Hungary and into Slovakia. Now at this point, the Ottomans have been unchecked in their power, and that will continue to be the case until they finish off Slovakia, because a few European countries will band together and form an alliance that is aimed at stopping any more Ottoman expansion. This alliance consists of Italy, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, and Czechia. These guys are all scared about the Ottomans expansion, and they all band together. Now, if anybody has any idea on how to defeat countries that surround around the Mediterranean, it's Germany. So maybe this is good for the Blue Alliance. Maybe they will actually be able to overcome the Ottomans. But with their plans in Central Europe foiled, the Ottomans will now go elsewhere, and more specifically, they're going to go over to Georgia and they're going to go over to Georgia and send an ultimatum demanding the coastal area of the country, as well as some of this inland country, making new borders look something like this. Of course, Georgia is going to fold because, well, they don't have any other option. And with Georgia left in this state, they see invasion by Russia, which officially wipes them off of the map. Sad day for Georgia. Now back over in Africa, we actually see the Ottomans want to expand their coastal areas even more. It kind of seems like they have a theme here, but they're not going after the rest of Eritrea. And, well, like everyone else, they just kind of get rolled over. Yep, not much resistance here. They then send an ultimatum over to Sudan, who denies the ultimatum. They'll start sending some of their troops into the areas of an Eritrea and see a little bit of success. They're also able to capture this Ottoman claim right here, and are able to convince Egypt to join the war, which then helps in the pushback of the Ottomans from the Egyptian territory. However, this short-lived victory is, well, a short-lived victory. Now, while the Ottomans didn't think that Egypt would join the war and have to prepare for that, they did know that Sudan would probably deny, and well, all of their troops are stationed in Eritrea, and yeah, the Ottomans see a lot of success in just taking over the coastal areas of Sudan, which they wanted, and from here we'll move up behind the front lines of the Egyptian forces, which is not good, and they get cut off from the coast. And from here, Egypt is pushed back like this, and after losing all of their advanced lands, Egypt will go ahead and surrender over to the Ottomans, and soon after, so will Sudan. And now we can take a look at a peace treaty between these three nations, actually four. And in this peace treaty here, the Ottoman Empire will take the coastal areas of Sudan, Egypt, and Eritrea. Well, actually, they just fully annex Eritrea. But then Egypt will be made into a puppet state because of their actions in the war. How dare you try to even backstab us. But now the Ottoman Empire is looking something like this. So far in this video, they have taken out a few countries and have created 3 more puppet states, which will all serve them well in a possible conflict on all 3 fronts, which will not be happening, right? Anyway, now the Ottomans are getting jumped. Yeah, the blue team, they saw that they were doing things in Africa and wasted no time at all. All 5 of these countries will declare a coalition against the Ottomans and start advancing into Ottoman territory, taking their puppet state in Slovakia and moving out from Italian land. However, the Ottomans here are going to get extremely lucky because Russia just joined the war and they are going after Ukraine. After the Ottomans suddenly appeared, it stopped the Ukraine war, and now Russia is seeing opportunity to get all of its land back, both in Ukraine and against the Ottomans. So this is now a 3-way war, and Belarus just got involved. Lovely. Do the Ottomans have any allies that they can add and help fight this war? They actually do not. They're pretty unpopular. Turns out, kind of doing stuff like this and going imperial, not a good idea. The world doesn't like you, unless I say otherwise. But with no other countries on their side, the Ottomans will not be fighting this war alone, and it kind of gives them flashbacks to World War I, fighting both the Russians and a lot of this Central European area. Although Central Europe was kind of on their side actually, so what am I talking about? Right away we see Russian troops flood right into Ukraine. They were preparing for this, and with Ukraine losing its southern coast, it is a lot weaker. Now, of course, Russia occupies the majority of Ukraine's southern coast in real life right now, and it doesn't make them weaker necessarily, but Ukraine is not receiving any like real funding from NATO here because NATO doesn't exist. No billions from the United States. The only money they're receiving is from their allies, and that's really nowhere near the amount of money they're getting in real life. So after the fall of Kyiv, this thing is getting folded, and Russian troops will then move into the Ottoman territory and take over Crimea, a big blow to them. However, where the Ottomans do see a lot of success against the Russians is over here in the Caucasus area, where they move into old Georgian territory and then expand upon their front from there, sneaking up the coast. We also see the Ottomans repel the Italians and make a landing in Sardinia, pushing across the island and capturing it for themselves before doing another invasion into Sicily and into the heel of Italy. Now, these amphibious landings, how are they happening? Well, the Ottoman Navy is going to outclass the Italian Navy. The navies of all of these countries combined, I'm sure, is stronger than that of the Italian Navy. So they lose all of their naval superiority around their own peninsula, and this leads to a lot of amphibious landings. Now, these landings are tough for the Ottomans. They lose a lot of troops and a lot of resources, but at the end of the day, their campaigns are mostly successful as they're able to take over Sicily. And, well, they lose over here, though. This gets kicked out. But like I said, no big deal because Sicily has been captured, and now they can focus on a front line sneaking up the Italian peninsula. Elsewhere, though, they are still kind of struggling, and it's more so in the land which they had recently conquered in Hungary, even in Slovenia, and to an extent Croatia. With these struggles, it's kind of, imminent that their front line over here is kind of cooked for now. But without a doubt, Russia's involvement in this war does help them out a little bit, and advances into Poland are going to distract Poland and pull their troops back, and allowing for a big opening right here in which the Ottomans smash through and cut these armies, or I guess this front line, into 2. Thanks, Poland, really cool. But the Russians and the Belarusians are doing a lot of good work against Ukraine, and they're kind of cooked. Russia will take over a majority of the Ukrainian area, while the Ottomans will continue to pursue them in the Caucasian region. Eventually, they push all the way up to this area and liberate a lot of their old claims, including this tip right here and some of this land right here. As for the Ottoman campaign against the Italians, it is continuing to go well as they are still moving up the Italian peninsula and are to an extent threatening Rome. Up north, the Poles will push back against the Belarusians, and a small advance is made into Ukraine. However, both a sweeping campaign by the Ottoman Empire and the Russians kind of kicks them out of Ukraine officially. No longer is this looking too good for the blue team over here, but the fighting between the Ottomans and the Russians is still ongoing. They will make a landing in southern Crimea and take over the entire peninsula, which prompts Russia to start an invasion into Moldova. Over in the Hungarian front line, we see the blue team continue to expand its front, and they kind of refill the area which the Poles left, and are now kind of pushing southwards towards some major Balkan cities, and this is not looking good for the Ottomans. That is, until they capture Rome. now it's looking pretty good because the Italians are on the retreat, and eventually they'll be forced to surrender after being pushed all the way back to northern Italy. That is a pretty major development for the Ottomans because they no longer have to fight a strong country like Italy and can instead focus their resources on pushing back the blue team in Central Europe and back against the Russians over here. Now, speaking of the Russians, they are seeing even more success against Poland now as they are pushing pretty deep into the country. Additionally, the Ukrainian front line is reestablished and Ukraine basically surrenders. The Ottomans will begin their pushback against the blue team, going all the way up into northern Hungary. We also see them push back the Russians in Moldova and enter into the remaining areas of Ukraine, claiming it for their own. With this, they're able to push back all of Hungary, reestablish their puppet state, and advance into Czechian and Polish territory. Eventually, they will kind of poke out towards the capital of the Czech Republic and capture Prague, and in a sweeping campaign, they will also take the city of Warsaw, forcing the blue team into a surrender. So they will leave the war, and now the war is fought between Russia and the blue team, which the rest of that looks something like this. Eventually, they also surrender over to the Russians. Now the war is fought between the red team and the purple team, in which we see the Ottomans have a lot of success against the Russian forces, simply because Russia was now more invested into Europe, and the Ottomans were more invested into them after the blue team had surrendered to the Ottomans. So with this strategic advantage, the Ottoman Empire is able to take back all the land that was sieged by Russia, and even expand their front line in the Caucasian region. We see some advances into Ukraine, and eventually Russia and the Ottomans will come to the negotiation table in order to work out a deal. So let's take a look at that deal between all three of these alliances. And in this peace treaty here, we can see that the Ottomans have, they've probably completed their empire. They've expanded their lands in Ukraine and have created two new puppet states, being Czechoslovakia and the union between Poland and Ukraine. They've taken land from Russia over here. They've taken land from Ukraine right here. And as for the Russians, they unite with Belarus and take the rest of Ukraine and take a little bit of Poland in order to get better access to the Baltic Sea, because they had since been cut off from the Black Sea, meaning that they need a new area in order to get out into the waters. So Kaliningrad is now connected to Russia, and all is well for the Russians, although they probably have a little bit of a vengeful spirit for this area lost down here. Otherwise, this is what remains of the blue team: Germany and half of Poland. Yikes. Oh, and how could I forget Italy? I didn't color it in. There we go. Italy is partitioned. They lose Sicily, Sardinia, and all of their southern area, and then they lose a lot of their central area to a new puppet state, and then they are left to the north, in which they are probably extremely weak. But since we're doing like an Ottoman Empire, I kind of see something that is possible here. Germany, Austria, and Poland, as well as the remainder of Italy, will all unite together into the Holy Roman Empire, which gets sunk into the ocean. Wrong color. The Holy Roman Empire, which is back. And yeah, I mean, I guess these two could go to war, and you also kind of already have the Russian Empire over here, and then it wouldn't be too hard to form like a Persian Empire right here. I mean, also like a French Empire could work in this scenario. So really, why don't we just bring all the empires back, right? But in all seriousness, that is actually going to do it for today's video. And if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated as we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for sticking with me through these pre-recorded videos. This is the last one that I'm at least recording. There's still one more that's going to come out this Saturday, but you're seeing this in March. It is January 17th for me, meaning that I haven't recorded a video in almost 2 months. That's insane. That's crazy. And I hope I'm not washed. This will probably be the longest recording break I've ever taken from YouTube while taking YouTube seriously, because obviously when I first started this channel as a kid, I didn't take it very seriously. You know, I'd do like one video, and then 3 months video, I'd do 2 videos, and then a week later, I'd do 1 video. I was very inconsistent. But my point is, I haven't taken a break from recording on YouTube for more than a month in a very long time. So hopefully this, first of all, recharges me, refreshes me, gives me a little bit of a break, but also it hopefully like doesn't lead to me becoming like bad at recording all of a sudden, because right now, of course, I'm not in my best of like mentalities for recording, especially after recording 14 videos within 2 days. That's a lot on somebody, especially with mapping videos. They get really repetitive to record. So yeah, I'm just happy to be done with it. This is the last thing that I have to do at home before going back to college, which means no more winter course, no more recording videos. I just have to post this Saturday's video for me, which is like Wixo episode 49, I think, maybe 48, and then I'm done. I could pack and I can leave, and yeah, that's that. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sticking through this with me, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes America and Canada and UK, Freezioid, Godzilla Bro, Zaylance, Unknown TD, Georgie Badev, Servernator, Johnny XX7, King Cheese, GD Cilia, Pablo Sigma Cat, Death Strider X, Hammer Toad 45, Connor the Gamer, Nevada Garbage Trucks, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.